think it would have been hard to imagine 30 years ago that today you can just walk into a store and buy high quality Canadian-made cannabis of an enormous assortment of varieties. I think I'd be pretty blown away to see how far we've come. In the early mid-90s, there was a real international resurgence of interest in hemp, and the interest was really in the economic, the environmental, and the health benefits of the plant. The funny thing was hemp was illegal. You could not even have literature pertaining to the growing of industrial hemp. It was criminal. On top of that, there was also the social justice issue of people going to jail for mere possession. We knew those laws had to change. Hemp is quite remarkable. It's a fiber plant historically, so you can make paper out of it and clothing. We were always very interested in the seed because of its nutritional profile, high in essential fats and protein, and obviously its therapeutic benefits with CBD. And it's also a really environmentally friendly plant to grow in that it doesn't need herbicides or pesticides. So we saw an opportunity early on to start a business in this newly emerging industry. So we incorporated our first company, Natural Emphasis, in 1995, focusing on hemp products. Our first business idea was, of course, to open a hemp shop. And we actually bid on a lease on Queen Street West. And we're kind of devastated when we found that the landlord had rented out just before we had submitted our offer, but it turned out to be a silver lining. We went and did festivals, we sourced all the hemp products we could find, clothing, bags, hats, paper products, food products. There was almost nothing you couldn't make out of hemp. We got a sense of what people were interested in, and the one product that really hit were pure hemp rolling papers. Quickly, our business grew into a wholesale business. But in addition to the products, we were thinking about how to move the dial on legalization through education and advocacy. We were quite amazed at how quickly things moved from a legalization standpoint. In 1998, hemp was legalized, commercial hemp production, and that year we grew our first 10-acre field. After growing our first hemp field, we realized that there was an opportunity to develop varieties that were better suited to Canada. And so we started a 3-year project with Dr. Ernest Small. He is one of the longest researchers of cannabis in Canada, and he has been awarded the Order of Canada for his cannabis research. We're very fortunate to work with him, and over 3 years, we grew 180 different varieties of hemp that we source from all over the world. Little did we know at the time that the work we were doing breeding hemp would lead to a real interest in the therapeutic benefits of hemp, and particularly CBD, and then ultimately launching the first Canadian CBD brand, WholeHemp. Since our earliest days, we've always been interested in the health and the therapeutic benefits of this remarkable plant. A major milestone in the history of legalization happened in 2000 when Terry Parker had a successful constitutional challenge of the cannabis laws. Terry was a severe epileptic, and the case resulted in the government having 1 year to provide a legal source of medical marijuana to patients. It also allowed those patients to grow for themselves or to have someone grow for them. So as it turned out, that first legal source was not very well received. It was being grown deep in a mine because of security concerns, and the quality of the product just wasn't there. So of course people could grow for themselves, or they could have someone grow for them, but that was quite limiting. So really things changed in 2003 with another legal challenge, which resulted in patients being able to have multiple people grow for them. It also allowed for growers to grow for multiple patients. And with that, the genie really was out of the bottle, and it was the start of the gray market. So that lasted almost a decade. In 2013, the government decided they needed stricter regulations, and they wanted to create a framework which allowed for companies to apply for licenses to grow medical marijuana. So we incorporated Abide, and we got our application in, and we were pretty excited to find out that we were successful, and we were granted one of the first 20 letters to build by Health Canada. Not for the first time though, we were quickly disappointed when we submitted an application to a new location as the original building wasn't available, and we were pushed back to the end of the line. So we had some time to reflect. And one of the things that we started thinking a lot about was that medical marijuana is more than just THC. In fact, the therapeutic benefit of this plant comes from the whole plant. The major cannabinoids, THC and CBD, and the minor cannabinoids, along with the terpenes, All of them working in concert synergistically, what's known as the entourage effect, is what results in the greatest therapeutic benefit. This led us to really delve deeper into this idea of full spectrum products and was quite instrumental on our future decision when we launched our first Abide product to create a balanced blend of our high THC Abide flower and our WholeHemp CBD. The other thing we realized at this time was how important it was for us to be growing outdoors. Everything changed when Trudeau decided in 2015 to announce that legalization was pending. That was a big deal. But obviously there were a bunch of details that needed to still be figured out. One of our first concerns after we heard about legalization was because there was already existing framework and regulations for hemp growers, there was a real concern amongst the hemp farmers that they were going to be excluded from these new regulations. So we worked with the Canadian Hemp Growers Association and we put together a program to lobby the government to basically be the voice for the hemp farming community to ensure that CBD from hemp would be part of the regulations. 2016, the government did something that actually I think was really good, and they got a task force together and they spent a year, I think they interviewed 30,000 odd people, and they made the recommendations to the government that became the basis of the regulations. And by and large, the task force findings from my reading were excellent, and the regulations that came out of them I think were generally pretty good, though we still have our challenges. One of the things that the government task force did well, for example, in our mind, was it recommended that outdoor cultivation be part of the regs. We thought that was great, but it also became apparent it wasn't quite so simple. The reason being, it seemed that there were a bunch of incumbents, large publicly traded cannabis companies that had already invested heavily in indoor and greenhouse space, and they were actively lobbying against outdoor cultivation. We took it upon ourselves to get together with a few other interested parties and wrote a white paper in defense of outdoor growing of cannabis in Canada. And that paper ultimately got published on the House of Commons website. And I'm happy to say that when all the dust settled, both hemp-based CBD and outdoor cultivation were part of the regs. 2018, October 17th came along and cannabis was legalized. So then it was, how are we going to play this game? And so we started with a research license and a lab license. And before long, we translated those into a processing license and an outdoor cultivation license. Pretty much everyone was playing the high THC game. And so we thought, with our background and experience, that it would be very interesting to do something a bit different. And so we launched with WholeHemp, the first brand in Canada to launch as a strictly hemp-based CBD line. We were also simultaneously planting our first outdoor crop up at our farm in the beautiful Trent Hills. And we were thinking about what we should do. Given our background and interest in the therapeutic side of it, we took our higher THC Abide flower and created balanced products by blending them with our WholeHemp high CBD flower. We have learned a lot over the last few years. We've developed a lot of products and developed new techniques at the farm in our regenerative practices and organic practices. Plants are looking better than ever. We've introduced new varieties, and we're now at a point where both WholeHemp and Abide have a full collection for WholeHemp CBD and CBG products. With Abide, we have balanced products and high THC products. We have something for everybody to find their own balance. We've expanded outside of Ontario and are now selling in provinces across the country. But our most exciting new venture is a farm gate store. We're going to be inviting our customers to come visit us in the beautiful Trent Hills to experience the wonders of organic regenerative farming for themselves.